Okay, so going into the centroid of plane areas. So again, since we already know how to discuss you already know how to solve the area. So solving the area is a part of the solution in solving for the centroid. So you solve for the area first, then afterwards is we're going to need the value of the area in order for us to solve the value of the centroid. So that's how this process will go in this topic. Okay, so for centroid is, again, if you have um, a 2D body, so so the centroid will be somewhere at the center, or let's say the other term for centroid is center of gravity. I think that's the term in physics: center of mass, center of gravity. So centroid, so those are the same. Okay, so for example, you're going to have any form of body present in your situation. So we can solve for the centroid by looking at bar x and bar y of the particular material. So especially if you have an irregular shape figure, so you're going to get the bar x and bar y of those figures, since those are irregular shape materials. So especially if you have a wire, so naga po siya center of gravity, but it's off center. It's not on the material, but so let's say it's off of the material. So murag ginana siya nga idea. Okay? So medyo libog siya, but once we get to the solution, so medyo mag-gets niyo ang process. So even though that you don't know the concept behind the centroid, so as long as you follow the solution for the centroid, so it you'll just get the answer immediately for the problems. So I think one problem will come out for centroid also as well. So one from area, I think one problem per application ang manggawa sa exam. Okay, so this formula is from coming from physics. So this bar x times the weight, so that will be the total weight of the material. Then summation of bar x with respect to the multiplication of the materials. So I think the idea on the right hand side of the equation is mura siya giputol-putol ba. So if you have components, so you're going to sum up the centroid of those components plus the weights, and it will be equivalent to the entire bar x and weight of the material. All right. So sige lang, ako lang siya i-discuss once we go to the actual formula of the topic. Okay, kani siya is more on physics yan ya. Dili kita ka-relate because again, it's in terms of the weight or the mass or the kuan sa material, diba? So depending on the material. Okay, so properties of centroid. So the centroid must lie on any line of symmetry of a homogeneous figure. So usually in physics, so we can solve for the centroid if the material is homogeneous. So for example, your material is purely made of steel. So for example, your box is made of wood baron, diba? So it's easy for us to determine the centroid if the material is homogeneous. So let's say purely wood or purely metal. So let's say this metal plate is made of steel. So again, since steel has kanang murag the same property all throughout the material, so again, it's easy for us to determine the centroid since the formula presented earlier is in terms of atong weight sa material, diba? So if you're going to get the advanced centroid of the material. So let's say your material is non-homogeneous. So for example, you have a bar here, cylindrical bar. Then the inside of the material is, so let's say that this one is bronze, and then the outer material is steel. So we can still solve for the centroid, but it will have a different approach for this type of problem, since you, um, you have two materials present in the situation, diba? So magdili ka siya. Okay, so the homogeneous figure has a geometrical center, and that point is the centroid. So a figure A consists of several parts. So let's say you have an irregular shaped polygon. So let's say naamoy inani nga figure baron, di ba? So you can still solve for the centroid by making it into different parts. So inyo siyang itagi-tagi. So let's say this one is the first area, and then this one is the second area. And then you're going to get the centroid of the first area with respect to x-axis first, then adding up the centroid of the second area as well. So moto siya ang formula, di ba, katong bar x times area is equal to the summation of the different centroid of the kanang pieces. So muna siya ang pasabot ani. So this one is x1 a1 plus x2 a2. So marag mo na siya ang idea, di ba? Alright. Okay, so for our formula for the centroid of area, so we're going to use the bar x and bar y formulas. So for a while kay murag. Okay, so we're going to use these formulas. So for example, we're going to get a representative area. So given in this small cube. So going to that particular region, your differential area. So this will be your x sub c, or the centroid or distance of, for a while ay magniongot okay na siya. So going to this particular region, your differential area, so this will be your distance x going to the centroid. That's why it's x sub c, or in other books it may be called as bar x. So that's why ano siya ang nasa formula, bar x. And then the direction in the y component going to that differential area is y sub c, or in again other books that is your bar y, or y bar. So as you notice in the formula, so naay area nga component, diba? So you're going to solve first for the area, and then afterwards is we're going to use this particular area later on to determine the formula. I mean to determine the bar x and bar y. So ganina is, as I mentioned, the other books mentioned this as bar x. So meaning ang formula presented here is of different format na pod siya. So di na pod siya the same as the ones presented here. So dire is ang x sub c is on the inside of the integral symbol. So meaning it's referring to the differential area. So meaning na if you're going to refer this to other books, so this may become x bar, then differential area. And then the left side may be x sub c times area. So again, it will depend on what reference you're going to look for. So because the because the formulas are being presented by different authors. So depende na nila on how they're going to present the um, the formula. So di ba murag na yung mga line methods. So let's say for the area of a rectangle, base times height. But some books, ang ilang ang formula sa area is A times B, di ba? So medyo kanang different ang approach sa mga authors. So don't be confused. So again, what I was talking about earlier is your x sub c and y sub c is the centroid going towards the differential area. So your bar x and bar y is going towards the centroid of the total area. So kani siya is going towards the centroid of the total area, and your x sub c and y sub c is going towards the differential area. So let's try to erase this one para to avoid confusion. Kaya ako lang itong gi-state because again, other references will present you with other formats of the formula. Okay, so again, since we have these formulas, so first thing we need to do is we're going to solve first for the area before we're going to solve for the bar x and the bar y, or the centroid of the total area. So notice that in this, so later on also we're going to solve for x sub c and y sub c because our differential area will be your vertical strip and horizontal strip. So muna siya tong differential area. So it's the same concept that we have learned from the first topic of the application, which is on area, plane areas. So instead of this rectangular box for the centroid of an area, so we're going to use the vertical strip or horizontal strip that we have learned from the previous topics. So basta ang formula is bar x times area then equals the integral of x sub c, and then your differential area will depend on what strip you're going to use. It may be vertical or horizontal strip. So if you're going to use a vertical strip, so mahimo siyang x sub c then y top minus y bottom dx, then this one. So that's why the formula presented has no limits yet, because your limit of integration will depend on what particular strip you're going to use. So since you're going to use vertical strip, and that's the limits of which is in the x direction, so from x1 to x2. Now again, since we're going to solve both, so since we are using the vertical strip, so in terms of the bar y aspect, so since you are using already the vertical strip for the x component, so you have to be consistent that in solving for the y aspect, you're going to use the vertical strip as well. So dili siya pwede mag cross-cross. So if you're going to use vertical, you're going to use vertical strip all throughout the problem in solving for bar x and bar y. So if you're going to use horizontal strip, so you're going to use horizontal strip all throughout the solutions in solving for bar x and bar y. So this one is in terms of vertical strip. So if you're going to utilize the horizontal strip formula, so this becomes bar x times area is equal to x sub c, and then times x right minus x left dx. So again, this component is your differential area. Then this one will become from y1 to y2. And then bar y now for the horizontal strip. So this becomes from y1 to y2, then y sub c. Then this becomes x right minus x left. This one is dy dy. So the formula presented here as kaning box. So that is just the general formula, but if you're going to go into the details of your vertical strip and horizontal strip, so these will be the formulas. So for horizontal strip, these are the formulas for bar x and bar y. For vertical strip, these will be the formulas for your bar x and bar y. Alright, so for us to appreciate the concept, kay marag karon daghanay og yaw-yaw nya basin wala niyo ma-absorb. So let's try to go to an example so that you can go to the flow of the process of getting the centroid. So this may take longer because again we're going to solve the area first, then we're going to solve bar x, then we're going to solve bar y. So you have three different parts of your solution. So one major part, probably it will be four because you have to start off by graphing your equations, and then next is you have to solve your graph, then bar x, then bar y. So murag 4 siya. Okay, so let's go to example number 1. So since we know already how to graph, so I'll just leave the graphing aspect to you. So again, you need to provide solutions in providing your graph. So para madali lang tawag ka ng discuss because again, it will take a while if you still have to graph your equation. So base niya ang atong ma-discuss per meeting kay tag-isa ra ka example kay our solutions now are a bit longer. Okay, so the red line is x squared equals 8y. That's the graph. And then the blue graph is your x minus 2y plus 8 equals 0. So notice in the solution that I already gave the counterparts of the x and y components. So if you're going to express it in x, so this might become x equals 2 square root of y, diba? So if you're going to get the x component, so you have to square everything, and then square root of 8 is pila gani? So this one is 2 square root of 2y pa din eh. So the y component, or in terms of y, so you have y equals x squared over 8. So same goes for this formula here. So if you're going to express this one in x terms, so x equals 2y minus 8. So the y component of this one is this particular equation, y equals x over 2 plus 4. So it's equals, so it's in terms of y because as you can see in the graph, so we're going to utilize the vertical strip for this problem. So again, so let's say that we are done with the graphing aspect. So again, you're going to show solutions for your graph. So yun sa inyo pag-create sa graph. So di lang ni magically appear ang inyong graph. So ang kaning graph today is I just made it directly because again, we're going to need as much time as possible for us to finish, let's say, 2 problems for the meeting. So muna, I skipped the graphing aspect. Okay, so for this problem is we're going to use vertical strip. So again, reminder for everyone. So this one is the same concept for your polar areas. So again, your vertical strip should be consistent all throughout your area. So it should be that the top portion is always touching the blue graph, and then the bottom part of the vertical strip, wherever I place my vertical strip on the graph, is that it's always touching the same graph sa upper part, and the same graph on the lower part. So as you can see, the top part is touching the blue graph. So bisag asa na ako siya gibutang from the super left end sa right end and then sa center. So all of which are touching the blue graph, and then the bottom part are all touching the red graph. Then red. Okay. So again, recalling our knowledge of what we have discussed previously. So again, since we're going to solve for the area using vertical strip, so that will be y top minus y bottom dx from x1 to x2. Okay, so again, our limits of integration for this one is from x to x. So the boundary of the x on the left side going to the boundary of x on the right side. So this one is from -4 going to 8. So again, in getting the points of intersection, so again you need to show your solution for these values. So labi na mag-graph mo and then there's no evidence that kanang yun sa inyo pagkuha sa points of intersection. So marong na din siya. So again, there's no graphing solutions here because ako siyang directly show lang para mas madali ta. Okay, so the limits of integration is from -4 going to 8. And then y top again is the blue graph. So this is the equation for y top. And then this will be the equation for y bottom. That will be the red graph. So y top is x over 2 plus 4 squared. And then minus x squared over 8 squared. And then dx. So sakto, di ba? So the blue part is the top graph, the red graph is the bottom graph. So y top x over 2 plus 4 squared minus the bottom graph, the red one, x squared over 8, then squared pa jud. Again, since you're allowed to use your calculator, so you can already plug in the values in the calculator at this point. So as long as you show this particular area or solution, so your solution is valid. So if kanira nyo i-present and then naday answer kalit, so kana magically appeared na sa answer. Okay, so for the area, so you're going to have 36 square units. Okay, so that will be the solution, di ba? So nano siya square diri. What siya square dai? Nasayop dito kung kuan dai. Sa so this one is wala siya square diri dai. Y top minus y bottom dai. Okay, so after solving for the area, so we're going to use this data later for us to solve bar x. So this time is we're going to solve the bar x and bar y components. So again, your area is 36 kuan 36 units. So let's solve for bar x first. So again, the formula for bar x is bar x times the area is equal to x sub c times the differential area. So again, since we are using the vertical strip, so this becomes x sub c, then y top minus y bottom dx from x1 to x2. Then on the left side is bar x times area. Okay? So next is we're going to determine your different parts of the integral equation. So y top and y bottom, so it's easy to see because we have already used this one prior to the solution. So you already know that the top equation is the blue graph, the bottom equation is the red graph. So for x sub c, so again, as what I mentioned earlier, x sub c is the distance going towards the differential area. So since our differential area is the vertical strip, so meaning going to, so let's say muna siya ang centroid sa inyong vertical strip, di ba? Kay since rectangle naman siya. So going towards the vertical strip ng centroid, so this is our x sub c. Now, since we don't know the distance in terms of x, so our x sub c is equal to x unknown distance. So that's why it's x variable. Diba? So magets na ninyo? So the distance, the centroid of the vertical strip, which is x sub c, is x distance, diba? Unknown distance x. So that's why we're going to let our x sub c be equal to x, because of course later on when we apply the formulas for y top and y bottom, so these equations are also in terms of x, diba? Kailangan po kayo x sub c and then the other terms are all in terms of x, diba? So it's just x sub c because for you to know that this particular parameter is the distance going towards the centroid of the differential area, which in our case is the vertical strip. That's our differential area, diba? Or the representative area for the entire area that we're going to solve. So if we're going to apply the formula, so this one is bar x, and then again our area is 36 prior to what we have solved, tong area, di ba? Then x sub c will be x again. The centroid of the differential area is x. Then multiplied by the y top, which is the blue graph, x over 2 plus 4, minus y bottom, the red graph, x squared over 8 dx from negative 4. So again, that's the same coverage going to 8. So I think in your calculator is you're going to solve this part first, the integral equation, because since you'll be having many unknowns, so you cannot use shift solve. So this will be bar x times 36. Then this is so this will be 72. So bar x is equal to 2 square 2 units tayo. 2 units, not 2 square units. So 2 units. Okay, so I hope that you get the idea. So in solving for bar x again, this is the solution. So diba, going towards the centroid of the differential area, that is, so di siya bar x but x distance ra. So our x sub c became x distance because we have measured it that the distance going towards the centroid of your differential x is x components, x unknown units, diba? Or x units. So you may also do this type of solution so that you can help your calculator. So you can multiply x to the inside of the equation para mas dali siya i-plug in sa calculator. Okay, so for bar y is, again, the formula for bar y is the same as your bar x, but this time you're going to have y sub c. So y sub c times the differential area. So again, our differential area is the vertical strip. So y sub c times y top minus y bottom dx from x1 to x2. Okay, then y bar, then area. So if we're going to apply your solution, so x, so this will be from -4 going to 8, and then y sub c times x over 2 plus 4. So notice that we are still using the vertical strip even though we are now solving for bar y, diba? So all throughout the problems, we are using one type of strip, which is the vertical strip. So from solving the area, solving the bar x, then solving the bar y, so we are consistent in utilizing the vertical strip method. Then minus x squared over 8 dx. So bar y, then times 36. So notice that all of which are now in terms of x on the right side, but there's one component wherein y component pa siya, which is y sub c. So again, if this is our differential area, the vertical strip, so since this one is a rectangle, so we can say that the centroid is at this location. So this will be our y sub c. So in order for this to become the y the y aspect, ang iyang equation is in terms of x na, diba? So what I meant is, for example, kaning y top naimo siyang x component, diba? And then the y bottom is naimo po siyang x. So dapat ang kaning y sub c ninyo will also become the x variables in the solution. So sa amin ang atong distance ani is that we're going to utilize the y top and the y bottom for us to determine the middle portion of this vertical strip. So unsa man na siya, so we're going to do averaging, or we're going to get the midpoint. So midpoint formula from our basic geometry, diba? So for example, this one is our equation line, diba? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say this one is 0. So how do you get the midpoint between 2 points? Diba? x1 plus x2 all over 2, diba? So 1 plus 4, and then divided by 2, that will be 5, diba? 2.5. So nadiri ang centroid. So, di ba, murag same siya og kanang kuan ana. So, this time is since vertical strip man ta, so we're going to add, so let's say this is the first point, this is the second point, then we're going to get the midpoint between these 2 points. So, ang outer point is our y top, our bottom point is the y bottom. Diba? So, meaning our centroid for our y sub c is y top, or let's say y bottom or y top plus y bottom all over 2. So again, this particular formula is coming from the midpoint concept. Midpoint between 2 points, diba? So, diba, more kaning idea ba? So, 1 plus 4 is 5 divided by 2, that's 2.5, diba? And as you can see, the distance between the 2 points is 3, diba? So, meaning na ang step going towards the midpoint is 1.5. So, meaning this equation is valid. So, muna atong utilize dire the midpoint concept. So, meaning our y sub c is negative 4 going to 8. Then this becomes y sub t plus y sub b all over 2. Then times x over 2 plus 4 minus x squared over 8 dx. Diba? So notice taas kay siya. Then bar y times 36. So if you're going to plug in y top and y bottom, so this will be negative 4, then 8, and then this becomes, so y top is x over 2 plus 4, and then plus x squared over 8 all over 2, then multiplied by the other part, x over 2 plus 4 minus x squared over 8 dx. Then bar y, then 36. So since the right part is complicated, so I think you need to simplify the right side first before you plug it in the calculator. Okay, if you're going to plug it in this manner, so medyo maugmaan mo og huwat sa value. Okay, so try simplifying the equations first. So the answer for bar y is 3.2. Okay, so 3.2 units. So this is the solution. So again, the y sub c component here is the midpoint formula. So that's why it's y top. So again, this one is y top plus y bottom all over 2. And this translates into this term here. And then the y top minus y bottom is on the right side. So, una siya ang difference from bar x and bar y. So, how much more if you're going to use the horizontal strip? So, there will be a shift of your y sub c and x sub c. So, ang x sub c na sa may ani, x right plus x left all over 2. So, ato na makita in the next example. So again, why we're not using horizontal strip here is, again, if we're going to use horizontal strip here, so red against blue, red against blue, but on the lower portion, that's red against red. the right and the left portion of your horizontal strip is all red. So ma-zero out ang equation. So muna, we utilize the vertical strip. Okay, so questions? Wala questions? Oh, bar X and bar Y ang final answer if you're looking for the centroid. So bar X and bar Y. So dili siya square units kay you are solving for the distance. So muna siya coordinates. You're looking for the coordinates of your centroid, bar X and bar Y. Okay, so muna siya for, again, bar X. So as you notice, it's simple for X sub C because it's just the distance X, diba? Because we're going to let our equations be in terms of X. So muna, it's easy for us to say that X sub C is just X unknown distance. But for the Y sub C component, so this one, Y sub C, so we cannot say that it's equal to X, diba? Kaya we are in the Y direction, diba? So kani siya is, it's okay that kuan sad siya kanang X siya dito because the X sub C component is already in the line of action of the X axis. So diretso na siya. But for our Y component, so medyo lisod na siya, di ba? So let's say we're going to have the horizontal strip. So let's say horizontal strip ha, but dili siya correct sa horizontal strip kay di siya applicable in a problem. So let's say this is our horizontal strip, and let's say this is the centroid of the horizontal strip. So obviously if this one is our X sub C, so we cannot say directly that it's in terms of X because we are now touching X right and X left. So meaning mahimo na siyang X right plus X left all over 2, di ba? If you're going to use the horizontal strip. But for the Y component, going towards the Y component, since our equations later on for the horizontal strip is all in Y, so diretso na siya Y, di ba? So ato na ma-discover in the second example. So pwede rin nyo ila-ila i-present ang bar X and bar Y, ana. Or if ganahan mo in the final answer, so you may write it in this manner also. So this one is for bar X niya, this one is bar Y niya. If you want to express your final answer in unity, so pwede mo maginana bar X bar Y then equals to 2 and then 3.2. No, so pwede po rin nyo inani ang pag-answer. So again, what we did so far is if we're going to sum up our steps in getting bar X and bar Y, so the first important thing is you're going to graph your equations. You're going to look for the points of intersection also. So again, provide solution for your graph and your point of intersections. Then after is we solve for the area. And the next is we solve for bar X. Bar X, given that we know how to determine the value of the distance going to the differential area or your vertical strip, di ba? The next is your bar y. Again, knowing also that we know how to determine the distance of your y centroid going to the differential area. So again, for steps 2 to 3, steps 2 to 4, you're going to use one strip. So consistent strip ang gamiton ani. So if you're going to use horizontal strip for the area, so you're going to use horizontal strip as well for bar X and bar Y. So the same goes if you're going to use vertical strip for the area, you're going to use vertical strip for steps 3 and 4 also. So you're going to be using a consistent strip all throughout your solution. So of course, again, you have to evaluate which strip you're going to use, okay, para mas dali ang pag-solve ninyo, di ba? So again, as what I talked in the previous lesson about the area, so there are cases wherein the vertical strip is much easier compared to the horizontal strip, di ba? So na mga inanat nga scenario. There are also cases wherein we cannot use the horizontal strip, but we can use the vertical strip. So let's say in this example, we can only use the vertical strip since we cannot use the horizontal strip. Now, there are also problems where you can utilize the horizontal strip and the vertical strip. Alright, so let's move on to the next example. Oops, sorry. So example number 2 is we're going to have these equations. So we're going to find the centroid of the area bounded by the curves y squared equals 4x, x equals 0, and then y equals 4. So this one, our purple graph is the y equals 4 equation. This particular green graph, so it might not be seen in your eyes, but for the y-axis is x equals 0. And then this red graph is your curve, which is y squared equals 4x. Okay, so if you're going to look at the area, so you can solve this one using vertical strip or horizontal strip, diba? Okay, if we're going to use the horizontal strip, so anywhere I put my horizontal strip, so I'm going to place it end to end for verification. So the top portion is touching the purple graph, the bottom function is touching the red graph. So purple against red, and then for the middle part, that's purple against red. So it's consistent, diba? So if I'm going to use the horizontal strip, so it's also consistent. So this is the type of problem where you can use the horizontal and the vertical strip. So if horizontal strip will go, right, the right part is red, the left part is green. So all throughout, red against green. So let's solve it first using kaning kuan sa vertical strip, and then after this one is we're going to solve this one using the horizontal strip to see if there's a difference in answer. Okay, so for the area is we're going to use again the vertical strip. So this is y top minus y bottom dx from x1 to x2. So again, since y top is 4, then y bottom. So again, shifting this one in terms of y alone. So again, you need to show solution for this one. So our boundaries in the x aspect is from 0 going towards this point here, which is 4. So this will be from 0 to 4. And then y top again is the purple graph. This will be 4. And then minus 2 square root of x dx. So you now have the area. So again, you may plug in this one using your calculator. So the answer is 5.3333. So, di ba, masayon siya. So again, dili siya sayon because again, the graph is just given, but on your part, you still have to solve the graph first or create the graph. The next is the area. Okay, so this is the solution for the area. Diba? So, sakto ang ito ang pag-determine sa mga parameters. So, for bar x, so again, we're now solving for bar x and then area. So again, that will be x sub c times the differential area. So x sub c, so again, since our differential area is the vertical strip, so y top minus y bottom dx. So x sub c and then times y top is 4, y bottom is 2 square root of x dx from 0 to 4. And then 5.33. So again, notice that since all parameters are in terms of x, so it should be that this one is in terms of x also. So let's say this is the centroid of your vertical strip. So going towards your the centroid of your vertical strip in the x axis. So this one is x. Then again, since nata sa horizontal line of sight, so we can say that x sub c is x units. So you're going to have bar x times 5.33 equals, so from 0 to 4, x, and then 4 minus 2 square root of x dx. Okay, so you have to solve first the right side. So x and then 5.33. So you may also distribute x to help your calculator. But pwede sa dili if you don't want. So this will be most likely if the calculator is dealing with radical equations, so medyo dugay-dugay siya mo gawas ang answer. So 6.4 then divided by 5.33. So ang answer is 1.2 units. Alright, so ano siya ang solution. So again, notice again that x sub c is just x distance. So di na siya bar x but x. Then y top becomes 4, y bottom becomes 2 square root of x. Alright, so solving now for bar y. So bar y times the area. and then y sub c times the differential area. So this becomes y sub c. Then notice this is y top minus y bottom dx from x1 to x2. So notice again that this will shift from in terms of x tanan. So let's say we're going to remain y sub c first, and then this becomes 4 minus 2 square root of x dx. So again, your y sub c must be in terms of x also. So to do this is we're going to, again, so let's say this is the centroid of your vertical strip. This is your y sub c. So muna siyang x-axis, muna siya, gikan siya diri ang pag-measure, di ba? Always from the axis. So again, we're going to utilize the concept of midpoint formula. So let's say this one is the first point, the bottom part, this one is the top part. So meaning na this distance is y bottom, the top portion is y top distance, di ba? So kato akong i-show ganina nga getting the midpoint of 2 points, di ba? Let's say this one is 1, this one is 4. So x1 plus x2 all over 2, that is the midpoint. But x sub m, di ba? Midpoint formula. So this becomes y bottom, or let's say y top. So commutative property of addition. So you may interchange the formula. So this becomes, so from 0 to 4, this is y top plus y bottom all over 2. So notice that taas kaya ang pag-determine, di ba? So pag-present na ako sa solution sa next slide, so medyo mabuo lang siya because ako lang siyang i-compress. But again, detailed na ang solution. Okay, and then you have 4 minus 2 square root of x dx. So you have from 0 to 4, then you have, so y top is 4 minus 2 square root of x all over 2, and then multiplied by 4 minus 2 square root of x dx. Then on the left side is y bar, and then times 5.33. That's how you solve your bar y. So again, bar y, then 5.33. So since again, di mo makasolve directly sa bar y on the entire solution, so inyo siya lang i-separately og solve sa okay, so this is somewhere 15 point something, 99, then divided by 5.33. So bar y is equal to 3 units. So this will be the solution. So again, this one is shortcut, but in practice, on your own, you need to solve the right hand side of the equation first. Okay, again, the calculator is not powerful enough for you to be able to solve this line here. Yeah, magawas tayo ng 3.0. So inyo siyang i-manually og solve ang right side first, then divide it by the area. Okay, so again, you may express your answer in this format. So it will be 1.2 maksud no? Then 3.0. All right, so do you have questions so far? Okay, so since in this um, cunning part is we use the vertical strip, so let's try solving it using the horizontal strip, if not by difference. Okay, so I think the only difference here is after you graph your equation, so you're going to let your equation here be in terms of x parameter because you are now dealing with x right minus x left. So the right hand part of the horizontal strip is your x equals y squared over 4, so this becomes x sub r. Then the left part is the y-axis, or x equals 0, so this becomes x left equals 0. So in solving the area, so again, since we are now utilizing the horizontal strip, so we have x right minus x left, so dy. So this one is from y1 to y2. So again, points of intersection for the y component. So this one is 0. So going towards this point here, that is y equals 4. So the same range of limits, but it's in the y direction. So still from 0 to 4. So x sub r, or x right, again is y squared over 4. Then x left again is the green graph, that is 0, 0. So notice that in solving the area, it's much simpler. It's simpler compared to the vertical strip. So this is 5.33 square units. So of course you can already tell that the horizontal strip is much easier because if you're going to compare it with the vertical strip, so this became y equals 2 square root of x. So sa kanila palandaan, if you're going to compare the two different equations, y top and x right, so y top is already dealing with a radical expression. So comparing it with the xr, or the x right component, so there's no radical expression, diba? And then the other equation of which is 0 pa jud. Kung ano siya, y bottom din eh, y bottom. So muna siya akong gingon na there are instances wherein the problem is easier using this strip comparing to the other strip. So inyo na ma-discover. So I think one tip I can give you is if you're going to be dealing with radical expressions, so muna siya express it on the other variable niya. Use that particular strip nga without involving radical expressions, di ba? So muna siya one tip. So if for example kani siya, so one tip here is ako siyang i-express una og in terms of y. So I get square root of 4x, di ba? Yeah, if I express this in x pod, x equals something, so y squared over 4. So diri pa lang daan, I can see that if I'm going to use vertical strip, I'm going to deal with square root of 4x. If I'm going to use horizontal strip, so there's no radical expression, so di ba mas better siya. So muna siya ang one method sad of knowing on what strip is much easier to use. Okay, so muna siya 5.33. Okay, so next is we start off first with bar x times area equals, so x sub c, so sorry. So x sub c, then times the differential area. So again, since we are using the the horizontal strip at this point now, so x sub c, then times x right minus x left dy, then from y1 to y2. Okay, so again, our x sub c is, again this time, is in the horizontal aspect. And then again, since we're going to be replacing it all in terms of y variable, diba, our x right and x left becomes y something. So meaning our x component here is still lang siya x diretso, but it's going to be the midpoint of 2 points na punta, diba? So ganina sa vertical strip, ang midpoint formula is in the y direction. But since now we are in the horizontal aspect, so the midpoint formula is now in the x direction. So meaning this one is our x left, this one is our x right, this one is our x sub c. So midpoint formula, so x sub c is equal to x right plus x left all over 2. So meaning this becomes y1 to y2, then x right plus x left all over 2 times x right minus x left dy. So from 0 to 4, then you're going to have, so x right is the red graph, this one is y squared over 4 plus 0 all over 2, and then x right is y squared over 4 minus 0. So notice that I'm using brackets and parentheses to determine that these are my variables para ako siya matrace later on. So simplifying is, you're going to have 0 to 4, then the first equation will become y squared over 8, then multiplied by y squared over 4 dy, and then bar x times the area is 5.33. So again, we're going to solve this separately. So this one is to be solved first. The right hand side should be solved first. So again, the calculator is only accepting x variables, diba? So you need to plug it in as x squared over 8 and then y squared over 4. So this is 6.4. Then the left side is bar x, then 5.33. So bar x is equal to 1.2. So the same as what we have solved using the vertical strip. And then this will be the solution. So 1.2. And then for bar y, so since this is our bar y, and again we are now in terms of y component, so automatically this one is just equal to y. Right? So we convert it into, so we cannot utilize the midpoint formula here because this one from the x-axis going to the midpoint is y distance, diba? So bar y times the area, then y sub c times the differential area. So again, since we are using the horizontal strip, so from y1 to y2, then y sub c, x right minus x left dy. So again, since our y sub c is just y units going towards the centroid of the differential strip, so we're going to have 0 to 4, then times y, and then times y squared over 4 minus 0 dy. Then you're going to have from 0 to 4, and then y, and then going to have y squared over 4 dy. So notice that it's a bit simpler compared to the vertical strip. So you're going to just integrate y cubed over 4 dy. So on the left side it's bar y, then area is 5.33. So again, the calculator doesn't involve y component, so only x. So don't forget to place it as x cubed over 4. So from 0 to 4. So this is 16. Then bar y times 5.33. So the answer is 3.0 units. So again, you may express your answer as in these formats. So 1.2 and then 3.0. So muna siya for the horizontal strip. So again, only a few problems can be used using vertical or horizontal strip. So you still have to evaluate if you're going to use, if you can use both strips, diba? So for example, sa example number 1 na to, so it can only be solved using vertical strip. It cannot be solved using the horizontal strip. Okay, so questions or clarifications? Okay, so no one, no comment. Kuan lang, round up to the kuan lang. The first decimal tenths ba? Or pili po hundreds na, depending sa kuan. Sa pareha na siya, basta kuan lang. Okay, so this is the solution. So again, you can now compare that, diba? Murag one strip is better. Okay, so I'll be posting your problem set after lunch. But if you want to solve ahead of time, so this is the problem set. So di na siya tag na po, but tag ano lang siya, less than 10 na lang siya. Okay, tagas naman ang process. So I'll just post this one in the canvas later after I take my lunch. Alright, so if you don't have any more questions, so that's it for today. So again, I'll be posting the problem set later.